The story begins on the hidden Amazon island of Themyscira, where a grand athletic competition is about to begin inside a massive coliseum. The event is held in honor of the legendary Amazon warrior Asteria. Long ago, when the Amazons escaped from human slavery, mankind tried to stop them. To protect her people, Asteria stayed behind and fought alone, using her powerful golden armor to hold the enemy back long enough for the Amazons to reach safety on Themyscira. But sadly, she lost her life in the process. Now, years later, the Amazons continue to honor her bravery through this sacred competition. Among the contestants is a young girl named Diana, the daughter of Queen Hippolyta. Even as a child, Diana is fearless. She races ahead of every warrior and quickly becomes the lead competitor. The challenge requires each rider to circle the island and hit 5 checkpoints with arrows while riding horseback. But during the race, Diana loses focus for a moment and falls from her horse. By the time she gets back up, everyone else has already passed her. Desperate to catch up, Diana takes a shortcut through the course, allowing her to jump back into first place. However, because of the shortcut, she completely misses one of the checkpoints. When Diana reaches the Colosseum first, she prepares to strike the final target with her spear, but her aunt Antiope suddenly stops her because Diana cheated. Heartbroken, Diana insists, "But I could have won." Antiope calmly replies, "You took the easy path, you cheated, and that is the truth, and you must learn to accept the truth." A moment later, Queen Hippolyta arrives and comforts Diana. She tells her, "Your time will come when you're truly ready." Even Asteria didn't become great in a single day. Her actions made her legendary. One day, you'll become far greater than you can even imagine. But for now, the world is not ready for what you can become. The story then jumps forward to the year 1984. Diana now lives in Washington, D.C., where she works at the Smithsonian Institution as an expert in ancient artifacts. But secretly, she also protects innocent people as Wonder Woman. Whenever crime appears, she steps in to stop it. One day, a robbery breaks out inside a shopping mall. A group of thieves is attempting to steal illegal black market artifacts hidden behind a jewelry store. The store secretly deals in stolen antiques and smuggled art pieces, although nobody knows that yet. But thanks to the robbers' stupidity, the entire mall realizes something is wrong. During the chaos, one criminal grabs a little girl and threatens to throw her over the railing to save himself. That's when Wonder Woman arrives. She saves the child just in time, and the robbers panic and try to escape, but Wonder Woman takes them down one by one with ease. Meanwhile, we're introduced to Barbara Minerva, a geologist and cryptozoologist who also works at the Smithsonian Museum. Barbara is extremely shy and awkward. Nobody really notices her, and she has no friends. In fact, she's only been working there for 7 days, so barely anyone even knows her name. One morning, Barbara accidentally drops all her documents across the office floor, and no one bothers to help her, except Diana. Diana kneels down and helps pick everything up, which instantly means a lot to Barbara. Just then, Barbara's boss, Carol, walks over. She explains that the FBI has sent over several confiscated artifacts for investigation, the same artifacts recovered from the mall jewelry store. Barbara agrees to examine them for the FBI. Soon, Diana joins her, and together they begin studying the mysterious objects. Barbara notices one small artifact made from citrine stone. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. She explains to Diana, "Citrine is a very common mineral. People have used it for centuries to make cheap artifacts, so this thing is probably worthless." But when Diana looks more closely, she notices a Latin inscription carved into the stone. It roughly translates to, "Grant the bearer one wish, and the wish shall be fulfilled." Barbara gets excited when she realizes Diana can read Latin. Jokingly, she asks, "So what? Is this some kind of magical wishing stone?" Nearby, one scientist casually touches the artifact and wishes for coffee, and seconds later, someone actually brings him one. Even then, Diana and Barbara still don't believe the stone is magical. They assume it's just a coincidence. Barbara laughs and says, "I wish this thing really worked, because there are a lot of things I'd want." At that moment, Diana quietly thinks about Steve Trevor, the man she once loved, who died years ago. Without even realizing it, she silently wishes for Steve to come back. Back at Diana's apartment, Steve's old watch suddenly activates on its own. As Diana prepares to leave, Barbara thanks her emotionally. She says, "You actually talked to me. Everyone else here just ignores me." Feeling bad for her, Diana smiles and invites Barbara to lunch. And soon, the two women begin bonding over a quiet meal together. During lunch, Barbara asks Diana if she's ever been in love. Diana quietly smiles and replies, says, "Many years ago, I was, but he's gone now." Later that night, Barbara heads back to the office. On the way, she notices a homeless man named Leon and kindly gives him some food. Barbara may be awkward and shy, but deep down, she has a genuinely good heart. A short distance away, however, a creepy guy starts harassing her. Before things get worse, Diana suddenly appears and steps in to protect her. With a single punch, Diana sends the thug flying across the street. Barbara is completely stunned. No normal person could do something like that. Afterward, Diana heads home. Meanwhile, Barbara returns to the museum and secretly takes out the Dreamstone. Holding it in her hands, she whispers, "I want to be like Diana, strong, confident, beautiful, and amazing." Nothing seems to happen. Disappointed, Barbara eventually falls asleep at her desk. The next morning, she wakes up inside the office, but something feels different. As she walks through the museum, people suddenly start noticing her. Men smile at her. Coworkers pay attention to her. For the first time in her life, Barbara feels seen. That's when Carol introduces her to Max Lord, a wealthy businessman, famous oil tycoon, and television celebrity. Max is planning to make a huge donation to the museum, so he's there for a private tour. Carol asks Barbara to show him around. The moment Max appears, something about him feels suspicious, and his eyes immediately lock onto the Dreamstone. Still, Barbara takes him upstairs and begins showing him the exhibits while they talk. Diana notices Max too, and instantly feels uneasy around him. Before leaving, Max tells her, "I'm hosting a party tonight where I'll announce my donation. You should come." But Diana politely replies, "I'm really not into parties." Later, Max returns to his company, Black Gold Cooperative. Here, we learn that his business is actually falling apart. Max invested millions into risky oil fields that every other company refused to touch, because there was almost no chance of finding oil there. That's why he's been desperately searching for the Dreamstone for years. He believes it can finally make his dreams come true and give his son Alistair the perfect life he never had. As a child, Max grew up in poverty. His abusive father constantly beat him and his mother, and after his parents died, he was left completely alone. From that moment on, Max promised himself that one day he'd become rich and powerful and give Alistair the future he deserved. That's why Max tells his son, "Soon, I'll buy you a huge swimming pool, maybe even a helicopter. It just takes time to become successful." Just then, a man named Simon arrives. He's Max's biggest investor. Simon coldly says, "Do you even lie to your own son? Those oil fields are empty, Max. You're a fraud. You have 2 days to return my money, or I'm suing you." Max is humiliated, especially because it happened right in front of Alistair. After Simon leaves, Max angrily tells his son, "I'm not a loser. One day, he's going to regret turning his back on me." Meanwhile, Diana's suspicion about Max keeps growing. She checks the Dreamstone's storage box, but the stone is gone. Inside the box, she finds a bill with Max Lord's name on it. Apparently, Max had originally purchased the artifact from the jewelry store before the FBI confiscated it. Now Diana is convinced he stole it. That evening, Barbara arrives at Max's fancy party, looking more confident than ever. Soon after, Diana arrives too. Max flirts with Barbara and cleverly gains her trust. Eventually, he convinces her to borrow the Dreamstone for a few days. Meanwhile at the party, Diana notices a strange man staring at her. He walks up and says, "We know each other." At first, Diana is confused, but then the man says something that stops her cold. "I'll save today, and you save the world tomorrow." Those were Steve Trevor's final words before he died. Diana instantly realizes the impossible truth. It's Steve. The Dreamstone brought him back, but inside another man's body. Because of Diana's love for him, she only sees Steve's real face instead of the stranger's. Overwhelmed with emotion, Diana is happier than she's been in years. Steve takes her to the apartment of the man whose body he now occupies. Neither of them understands how this could have happened. The last time Diana saw Steve, he died in that plane explosion decades ago. But right now, none of that matters to her, because somehow, the man she loved has finally returned. Meanwhile, Max takes the Dreamstone back to his office and makes a shocking wish. "I want to become the Dreamstone itself." Suddenly, the magical artifact dissolves into his body. Max smiles in excitement. He's now a living wishing stone. The next morning, Barbara wakes up feeling completely different. She feels stronger, faster, more confident, because after making her wish, she has now become just as powerful as Diana. At the same time, Diana spends the day showing Steve around the modern world. Steve is amazed by everything he sees: the technology, the fashion, the crowds, the music. To him, the future feels unbelievable. Back in his time, none of this existed. Meanwhile, Max keeps using his new powers to make all his dreams come true. Since he's now the living Dreamstone, whenever someone makes a wish to him, he grants it, and in return, he takes something for himself as payment. Little by little, Max becomes richer and more powerful. Back at the museum, Barbara's popularity continues to grow. People suddenly admire her. Everyone wants to talk to her. Later, Diana arrives with Steve and asks Barbara about the Dreamstone. Barbara explains that Max Lord visited her office and borrowed the stone for a few days. Hearing this makes Diana furious. She and Steve immediately head to Max's company. Outside the building, huge crowds have gathered because somehow oil has suddenly been discovered in Max's empty oil fields, and now everyone wants to invest in his business. Diana and Steve sneak into the building through the parking garage and finally reach Max's office. Inside, something feels strange. The entire room is covered in sand. Diana notices several documents scattered across the desk, all filled with research about the Dreamstone. She realizes Max had been searching for the artifact long before he found it. Then Diana discovers a broken fragment from the base of the stone. Written on it is an ancient divine language. At that moment, Diana finally accepts the truth. The Dreamstone is real, and it's the reason Steve came back. But instead of feeling happy, she becomes worried. She immediately calls Barbara and asks her to research where the stone originally came from and which god created it. Steve notices Diana's concern and asks, "Why are you so worried?" Diana explains, "Not all gods are good, and every god has different motives. Some create powerful objects using mystical energies beyond human understanding. Take my lasso of truth, for example. Its true power comes from truth itself. But this stone, I still don't understand what its real power is, and I'm sure Max won't be able to control it." She looks at Steve seriously and says, "We have to stop him." While searching the office, Steve notices plane tickets to Cairo in Max's trash can. They quickly realize Max is heading there to meet one of the world's most powerful oil rulers in order to expand his empire. So Diana takes Steve to the airport. Since Steve used to be a pilot, the two steal a jet and fly toward Cairo together. But military radar soon detects the aircraft, and authorities move in to intercept them. That's when Diana suddenly gets an idea. She tells Steve, "My father once mastered a special power that kept Themyscira hidden from the world. I've been trying to learn it for over 50 years. Concentrating deeply, Diana finally succeeds. The jet slowly turns invisible. Now hidden from radar and sight, they safely continue toward Cairo. Both of them laugh in excitement, amazed that it actually worked. Meanwhile, Max arrives in Cairo to meet Said bin Abydos, one of the most powerful oil rulers in the region. Marndins asks him, "How did you become successful so quickly?" Max smiles and replies, "I found a very special stone. Now I can grant anyone's wish and take something in return for myself." Of course, Marndins doesn't believe a word of it, so Max asks him, "What do you want most?" Marndins answers without hesitation, "I want my ancestors' ancient kingdom restored." Instantly, the wish comes true. Massive walls rise from the desert, surrounding the entire kingdom of Bialya. Marndins is stunned. Then Max takes his payment. In exchange, he demands control of all Abydos' oil, but Abydos laughs and says, "I already sold it all to the Saudis." Furious, Max uses his power to take away all of Abydos' security guards instead, leaving him defenseless. Marndins tries desperately to stop him, but it's too late. Now, because of the giant walls surrounding the kingdom, people everywhere are trapped in chaos and panic. At the same time, Diana and Steve are driving toward the area when they spot Max escaping. They quickly buy a taxi from a local driver and chase after him. Realizing they're following him, Max orders armed men to attack them. And finally, Wonder Woman steps out of hiding and reveals herself completely, launching into an intense battle against the attackers. Steve jumps in to help Diana during the chase. Together, they fight their way through the convoy, while Diana destroys vehicle after vehicle to stop Max's guards. But there are simply too many enemies, and for the first time in years, Wonder Woman starts getting weaker. The reason is the Dreamstone. Whenever someone makes a wish through it, the stone secretly takes away something precious in return, often the person's true strength, identity, or humanity. Even so, Diana and Steve somehow manage to push through the attackers and finally catch up to Max. Diana demands answers about the Dreamstone. Max simply smiles and says, "The stone is standing right in front of you." But before Diana can fully understand what he means, she notices children playing in the middle of the road. Max's convoy is speeding directly toward them. Diana rushes to save the kids, pulling them out of the way, but because her powers are fading, she collapses to the ground, and Max escapes once again. Steve is shocked. He can't understand why Diana is suddenly becoming so weak. Later, Diana sees the massive walls that appeared across Egypt because of Max's wishes. Riots and chaos are spreading everywhere. Realizing how dangerous the situation has become, she contacts Barbara and asks what she discovered about the stone. Barbara explains, this artifact has appeared in several ancient civilizations throughout history, but every civilization connected to it eventually collapsed. She still can't trace its exact origin, but she did find a flyer from a man claiming to be a real Mayan sorcerer who teaches about ancient relics. Diana immediately decides to meet him. By morning, Diana and Steve arrive at the man's place. Barbara joins them shortly after. The mysterious man introduces himself as Baba Jide. He shows them an old book passed down from his ancestors and explains, "My forefathers were Mayans, and because of that stone, our civilization was destroyed." He reveals that every society touched by the Dreamstone eventually fell into ruin. The stone is cursed. As Diana studies the ancient book, she discovers the truth. The Dreamstone was created by Dolus Mendacious, the god of lies, deception, and betrayal. Steve finally realizes why Diana is losing her powers. He tells her, the stone gives people whatever they desire, but in return, it takes away the thing they value most. Baba Sheed explains, there are only two ways to stop its power. Either destroy the stone, or renounce the wish that was made through it. At that moment, Diana remembers Max's words, and finally understands. Max didn't just steal the stone, he became it. Steve looks at Diana and says quietly, then we either stop Max or give up our wishes. Barbara immediately refuses to help them, because thanks to the stone, she finally became strong, beautiful, and admired. She doesn't want to lose that, so she walks away. Diana also struggles to accept the truth, because if she renounces her wish, Steve will disappear again. Heartbroken, she tells him, there has to be another way. Meanwhile, Max continues granting wishes across the world, but every new wish weakens his body even more. His health rapidly starts falling apart. That's when Max comes up with an even bigger plan. He wants to grant wishes to the entire world at once, and in return, steal power, health, and life force from billions of people, making himself practically unstoppable. To make that happen, Max visits the Prime Minister and grants him a massive supply of nuclear missiles. In exchange, Max steals even more authority and influence for himself. While there, he learns about a secret global broadcast satellite system, a classified technology designed to take control of television broadcasts around the world during international emergencies. Curious, Max asks, how is that even possible? The Prime Minister explains that the system uses particle beam technology. The satellite transmits particles worldwide, and those particles can interact with and influence electronic systems everywhere. That's when Max realizes something terrifying. His powers also work through physical contact. So if the satellite's particles can touch people across the globe through technology, then he could use the broadcast system to grant wishes to the entire world simultaneously. Without wasting time, Max heads toward the satellite facility with armed guards protecting him. Diana and Steve arrive to stop him, but Diana's fading powers make the fight extremely difficult. Still, they somehow manage to corner Max. That's when Barbara suddenly appears and sides with Max, because she refuses to lose the power the Dreamstone gave her. Barbara attacks Diana without hesitation. The guards try to stop the fight, but Barbara brutally takes them down one by one. Diana tries protecting the innocent people caught in the chaos, while also holding Barbara back. But Barbara overwhelms her, beating her badly. Meanwhile, Max escapes again. Barbara angrily tells Diana, "You've always had everything. People like me never get anything. And now that I finally have power, I'm not letting anyone take it away from me." Diana looks at her sadly and replies, "You may have gained power, but in exchange, you lost your kindness. And now innocent people are dying because of it." Barbara stares at Diana and says, "You're losing your powers too. And if you try to hurt Max, I'll kill you myself." With that, she leaves alongside Max in a helicopter, heading toward the global broadcasting facility. At the same time, tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States reach a breaking point. Because of the nuclear wishes being granted around the world, global war is on the verge of exploding. Riots spread through cities everywhere. People turn against each other. The entire world begins falling into chaos. Diana has become incredibly weak by now. When Steve sees the destruction happening across the world, world, he gently tells her. I've already lived my life, but now you have to save the world, because they need you. Diana is heartbroken. She doesn't want to lose him again, but deep down, she knows he's right. So for the sake of the world, she renounces her wish. The moment she lets Steve go, her powers return. Her wounds heal, her strength comes back, and Steve disappears forever. Now fully restored, Diana prepares for one final battle. Meanwhile, Max and Barbara arrive at the broadcasting base. Using the satellite system, Max connects himself to televisions and broadcast networks all across the world. Then he speaks directly to humanity. Tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. Suddenly, millions of people begin making wishes. Some ask for money, some ask for love, others ask for power, revenge, even death. And with every wish, the world spirals further into destruction. Nuclear missiles launch. Countries prepare for war. Civilization begins collapsing. That's when Wonder Woman arrives, wearing the legendary golden armor of Asteria. At some point, Diana had finally discovered the lost armor of the great Amazon warrior. But now, Max uses his powers to transform Barbara into a terrifying apex predator, a human-cheetah hybrid filled with rage and strength. Barbara attacks Diana brutally, and even Asteria's armor begins getting torn apart during the fight. The battle between them becomes savage and intense. Diana begs Barbara to renounce her wish, but Barbara refuses. Finally, Diana uses an electric shock to weaken her and bring her down. Even after everything, Diana still saves Barbara's life and gently carries her to safety. Diana then enters the broadcasting chamber to confront Max. But because of Max's overwhelming powers, she can't physically reach him, so instead she asks him, "Why are you doing this?" Max replies, "Everyone wants something, just like you wanted your love back." Diana destroys the camera equipment around him, but Max simply laughs and climbs onto the main broadcast platform. Unable to stop him physically, Diana uses the lasso of truth to wrap around Max. Through the lasso's power, she begins speaking not only to Max, but to the entire world. She tells humanity, every wish comes with a price. Before all of this, the world may not have been perfect, but it was still beautiful. Yes, life is difficult. You can't always have everything you want, but we must learn to accept the truth, and nothing is more important than the truth. Then Diana urges everyone listening, if you want to save the world, take your wishes back. At the same time, through the lasso, Diana shows Max visions of his son Alistair. She makes him realize something important. Alistair doesn't care about money, power, or success. He only wants his father, and right now, his son is alone out on the streets, searching for him. Diana also shows Max the destruction his wishes have caused. Wars spreading across the world, millions of lives at risk, including Alistair's. For the first time, Max finally understands what truly matters. To save his son and stop the destruction, he renounces all of his wishes. Immediately, the chaos around the world begins to fade. The wars stop, the missiles disappear, and one by one, people everywhere begin taking back their wishes too, realizing their selfish desires were hurting others. Soon, the world slowly returns to normal. Barbara also loses her powers and becomes human again after renouncing her wish. Meanwhile, Max desperately searches for Alistair. When he finally finds him, the two embrace emotionally. Max tearfully admits, "I'm not the great man I pretended to be. I lied, and I made terrible mistakes." But Alistair simply smiles and says, "I forgive you, and I love you, Dad." Hearing those words finally brings Max peace. Later, during Christmas time, Diana accidentally meets the man whose body Steve had temporarily inhabited. She compliments his outfit with a warm smile. The man smiles back politely and walks away, never realizing who he truly was to her. And with that, the movie comes to an end. In the final scene, we discover that Asteria is actually still alive. For centuries, she has secretly been living among humanity in disguise. When a giant pole suddenly falls and nearly crushes a little girl, Asteria effortlessly saves her, using her incredible strength. The child's mother thanks her, unaware of who she really is. Sometimes the hardest thing in life isn't losing what we love. It's accepting the truth and learning to move forward. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video on your screen. Thanks for watching.